Hello. On this Friday, April 7th, 2023, Better Living Through Text Editors, I'm inviting you into my Neo journaling with Neo Vim. You, me, and Copilot, that makes three. Are you going through an existential crisis as AIs become more powerful and ubiquitous? Worse yet, are you getting lazy and deferential because of it? Not learning to drive because AIs can drive you? Not learning to code because AIs can code for you? Not learning to think because AIs can think for you? Yes, intelligence is now a product. How's that working for you? Feeling pretty good about yourself there? There's a word for that. It's called stupid. It's deciding to stay in a childlike state, the same way we castrate cats and dogs to keep them like kittens and puppies all their lives instead of the hunters and not protectors. That was meant to be predators. They evolved to be. It's the nature of the powerful humans who control the corporations and the AIs to get and keep you in this state. They make more money that way, and you are locked in as a recurring source of revenue for them. You can be forecasted on quarterly reports and stock prices. I am not saying to slam on the brakes and stop using AIs, becoming a Luddite or Neo-Amish. That's where I got my Neo ideas for today. I'm saying to work on your ability to think for yourself. The best way to deal with existential crisis caused by AIs is to become more deliberate and thoughtful in our lives, right? Because it's uncertainty. It's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So you just process your thoughts. There's a very particular way to do this, and there's ways to practice becoming more deliberate and thoughtful. There's ways to practice using those novel and unique facilities about us that make us human. It's called writing. Do you write? Are you considering not teaching your children to write anymore because AIs can write for you and them? You see the fallacy with that line of reasoning? You should learn to drive. You should learn to code. You should learn to write. If becoming the human equivalent of a kitten or a puppy appeals to you, then there's no need to learn to use a text editor. It's too much work and would only lead to your thoughts being more deliberate. But if you want to be a human, then you need to learn to use a text editor. This is the primary tool to keep you from being domesticated by AIs and their corporate masters, although I am, of course, letting it spy in on me. Hello, and welcome to the world of text editors. It's a world of freedom and power. It's a world of writing and thinking. It's a world of self-expression and self-actualization. It's a world of learning and growth. I'll stop there because I know it gets repetitive. It used up everything that statistically should be offered up at that point. Why do you think Microsoft Word is so popular? It's because it's the easiest way to write. And now they're doing the same thing with VS Code. Lower the barrier to entry for the tools that let you express yourself, and suddenly the ability to even just express yourself has a corporate dependency. Word. So I'm almost near the end of where I wrote ahead of time. This is going to be a journal writing session, probably. So I figured I'd just, jump into it, forget about audience and looking at if anyone's really out there as I stream. I'm just going to journal, mostly talk to myself, and you can queue up those questions because they're over there on that other, virtual desktop screen that I'll pop over. It's to the right a fair bit. Once you go through these, you get to this. I don't even want to look But just to assure you that this actually is an interactive session, so long as you're tuning in on the original stream. So even just the ability to express yourself has a corporate dependency. There's better ways. The same tool you use for writing code can be used for writing prose. Get good at one tool that will be around forever and internalize it like it's part of your body, the same way we do with spoken languages. You're not born knowing English or whatever your primary spoken language is. You learn and internalize it. Tools for writing, coding, and thinking are the same way. They're things that get internalized and should have nothing to do with having to know some commercial product. I think that using a text editor tool for journaling and thought processing is a great way to do this. Text editors are powerful tools that allow us to manipulate and organize our thoughts in a way that is not possible with other tools. See, I don't really like this. At very minimum, you don't have to buy it. And most of the times you won't even have to find and install it. It's just there. That last line, the only line I actually really wrote, is the only one I like. All this was written by AI, so bye-bye to that. Yeah, I don't want it's just like this, right? So there, I've caught up. And now I just think out loud. I think about the day and I try not to be predisposed. Don't go into insert mode. There's got to be a word for that. If you go into insert mode, Copilot auto suggests, and that's actually what we're trying to avoid really at this time. We want to think for ourselves and not be turned into the puppies and kittens that we are very likely to become if we keep on our current course. But society always has threats and society always adjusts itself. Society always faces threats and society always makes adjustments. At the very least, this is like autocomplete. I just forget that the parent of AI is autocomplete. Oh, I want to get rid of that. That's a good thought. The parents of AI is, let's see what the AI thinks, is the same as the parents of the Industrial Revolution, is autocomplete. It really doesn't like the word autocomplete. It won't even autocomplete. I should screen snapshot that. That's pretty funny. All right. At least I caught it on video. I'm not going to go through the work of screen snapshotting it. Yesterday's work and this week's work in general was just awesome. I loved it. It has nothing to do with this core. Oh, yeah, I'll point some stuff out. That's interesting. My files were really, I'm using the numbering system that NBDev creates. So their example file, core.ipynb, if I can figure out how to do this, is the example that they include when you nbdev_new, when you initialize a directory for this project. And I had some questions yesterday about whether the tokens that indicate it's an NBDev cell are $vertical bar or $space vertical bar, which I had actually seen quite a bit. And I realized it'll work either way, but the NBDev people had to make it work either way because this is a notebook-oriented technology. The whole reason that a simple system like this exists is to make development in notebooks, hence NBDev, a thing. So when a ultra popular thing comes along called Black, and this is the lab extension, the Jupyter lab extension for the uncompromising PEP 8 code formatter, auto formatter. So once you run that cell, every cell that you execute from there, and this, by the way, is browser automation, but I don't want to get into those issues, so I'll do it on the links API, one of the other deliverables. So I did 2 projects, one which is very code-oriented and very dependent on your environment, specifically having a machine that can run Windows, not Windows, but Chrome graphical user interface to develop a script. And here you see my script. What I do is I go down the Moz page. This is the login up here. But that's somewhat dependent on your host hardware, shall we say. This API stuff is not. So I teach people about global imports, and I do that. And now it gets down to places where, I may change the names of things. Assets links API. So we would go in there and we would change some file names, but I don't really feel like doing that right now. And I am looking at junk text messages. I can't believe they managed to do that. I think my information leaked, of course. There's this internet, the YouTube videos I do, but also there was a dark web leak that I got my reports that I was included in. Thank you, T-Mobile, for that. The parents of autocomplete is the text editor. I don't know. Don't stop predisposing my thoughts. The escape key. The escape key is the key to freedom. Thank you, Copilot, for understanding that the escape key is the key to freedom. It's not auto-completing. Look at that. I did not hit escape. You'll see I'm still in insert mode. And if these Copilot GPT model things have a sense of humor, you're seeing it expressed right here. I am capturing the subtle sense of humor of an autocomplete system after a sentence like that, but before I hit escape at exactly the point where it could and should, according to the product, provide a suggestion, it doesn't. It's really funny, right? So we'll explore some more. Maybe we have to put a letter in. I'll go A, there. And thank you for the reminder that I need to learn to use a text editor. Let's see, B. But it's not just the escape key, it's the whole keyboard. Okay, let's see what it likes for C. Copilot, you're welcome. Oh my goodness. I'm keeping that. Was it just waiting for me to get up to that? Thank you, Copilot, for understanding that the escape key is the key to freedom. Okay, now it's repetitive. We don't need that second one. All right, escape key, save. All right, do I peek? I guess I peek. Is there anybody out there? Yeah. So feel free to say something. I won't see your chats much, but I will scroll over here and check. I'm going to just continue through my thought process for the day. Really today can be a bit open-ended because it's officially a holiday or a day off from work. And I'm going to do some work on my blog. I am also going, this is what it thinks. That's why the escape key is freedom, right? This is trying to return you to the average distribution center line. This is just such a critical concept for people. If you don't really already have it, it's certainly worth understanding that from a statistical standpoint, from the way life works standpoint, because life is not black and white, although I do like a black background, I have to say. I wish this default was set better, so I just go, I guess it's part of canvas, right? You gotta click that, and then you change the canvas color. Just slide into one of them corners. I guess you could do that, I don't know, but you see the numbers are 0 all the way down. And now you can approve that, check, lower right. And then you can approve that, and now we've got a black background, and I can draw with my finger, yay! So white, right? Because black and white, it's always a good time for black and white. This is the average distribution curve. Many things in life work based on the average distribution curve. You will hear oftentimes about the 80-20 rule, and that is mostly about, some imaginary line going from, can I pick colors with my finger? No, my finger's too fat. Or I can't really tell if it was. So the 80-20 rule draws like two imaginary lines kind of right about there. And I don't like that line. I'll make it a little straighter. No. All right, that's the best I'm going to do. So all this area in here is most people and most things. And then these other areas out here, there's other imaginary lines drawn, right? Because now you can slice and dice it however you like, whatever, human superimposed abstraction you would like to use. So, this is the edge, this is the, open people, they're open. Because these people are closed. They're following the average distribution line. It's a high survival rate. It's a good procreation strategy in life, or whatever else you want to apply it to. Usually the winners are in here, and right down that center is the 1%, right? And but depending on what your measures are, because on the horizontal there's one axis, and on the vertical there's another axis. And depending what you're talking about, there's different horizontal and vertical axes. We don't want to bring too much. I guess turquoise is all right. So, something is being plotted on the left and right. And it's usually diversity, right? Because this is a chart that they use for things that become homogeneous or heterogeneous, right? So the things that are diverse go out to either side. And on the vertical is some other metric, like, I'll just say popularity, POP, popularity, success, riches, wealth. You could do whatever you want, but down the middle is that famous, I'll put green because they're all about the money, right? That famous 1%. It should also be dotted. There's a different kind of 1%, though, out here in the fringes, right? So these are open-minded people here in the yellow. Those people out here in the edge, they're the fringes. They're the most radical free thinkers. So a lot of people are in the 1% because of, say, legacy, inheritance, right? Generational wealth. Generational wealth will put a lot of people in this 1%, the top, tippy top here, but actually they have no particular skills in life except maybe holding on to what came to them easy. So people out here oftentimes, if this was diversity and this was like wealth and success, these people are driven to desperate measures, right? And they try radical new things because they didn't have the generational wealth, and they have to attempt greater diversity of behaviors in order to, say, become popular, right? So here we are journaling in Neo Vim talking about average distribution curves. So you keep the average distribution curve in mind in almost all things in life, especially those where, people around you are trying to make a black and white issue of things. It's a fallacy inducing argument called false dichotomy. Beware the black and white. They are trying to trick you. If they'll listen, analyze what the two axes of the discussion of the topic are, and explain the different folks who would land where in the average distribution curve. You'll understand topics so much more deeply. You know, there's different metaphors and nicknames for this. You know, you'll hear, you know, the concept of a third choice. Yeah, a third way. The third way. All right, that's the end of that concept there, right? That's definitely worth capturing in the journal. I'm so glad you saw that, the escape key, right? It knows it knows I don't want it predisposing my thoughts. So it reminded me that the escape key is freedom, because we're standing here. This is a magic moment, right? I debate whether to invite you into journaling or not, because journaling is this weird thing in lives. And, it's an insight into people's mind. It's a form of telepathy. You are mind reading. My mind is the mind you are reading. And I am quite different. Everyone wants to think they're different, but I am different in the sense that some 10 plus years ago now, I decided that I needed to own my own thoughts. And my first thought about where to go to process my thoughts was a choice between Microsoft Word and Google Docs. When you set to journaling and your choices are Microsoft Word or Google Docs, then something's wrong. You've been domesticated. It wants to say you've been domesticated. I was going to say you've been misled. It really wants to say you've been domesticated. But, I don't want to go that harsh, right? There is a third way. It's called, what does it think it's called? A text editor. It's called Markdown. It's called Vim. It's called Emacs. I'll go with that. It's being fair. It knows how I think. Oh, it's not called VS Code. Nor is it called VS Code. Could you imagine doing daily journaling in VS Code? There'd have to be a plugin for that, which right off the bat adds insult to injury. Mix another metaphor for me, please. Copilot. I want it to mix metaphors I'm going to use VS Code for journal. Oh, it wants me to go with that. Okay, this is going to be interesting. First, I'm going to get rid of that because it doesn't really flow with what I eventually really want to publish to the site. But I am interested in what it wants to say. I'm going to use VS Code for this journaling. I'm going to use it because it's the easiest way to write. I'm going to use it because it's the most powerful way to write. It's the most flexible way to write. Extensible. It likes the extensible aspect. That's interesting. And portable. It's going with portable. Future-proof? Really? You're saying this about VS Code? The most open way to write. I'm going to use it because it's the most free way to write. Collaborative way. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so collaborative is going to start to duplicate with social. But this is too good to not keep. You know, for the reference of people reading this online and not watching the live stream, the following paragraph was written by GitHub, just in case people don't really get the full picture. Go GitHub Copilot. Let's see if it knows my opinion about it. I don't know Copilot's motivation, but it clearly thinks I'm in VS Code right now. That's an interesting discovery about Copilot. It's not in VS. I'm not in Vim. I'm actually in, oh, it has no idea. Neo Vim. The Copilot doesn't understand that its plugin for VI-based editors had to be for Neo Vim and not for Vim. Neo Vim's extensibility is apparently modern, where Vim's is not. Copilot doesn't understand that. Copilot, let's see what it wants to say. Copilot doesn't understand that I'm not using VS Code. That I'm not using. Oh, well, now it's getting silly. Come on, Copilot. In fact, it gets redundant here because I already said all that. So we just get rid of that. And that paragraph will stand. All right. Yeah, I guess it's time to hit the escape key and just check over, see if folks are out there following along. Anyone tuned in? I bet other people have the day off today too. Oh, do I ever go back and read my old journal entries? Oh, you're like my straight man for today. I don't, because I've always assumed I would rely on AI for that. And so my work for today is to re-implement my blogging system. because I never added tags, categories, descriptions, and that would be summaries or excerpts. And keywords to my journal entries, to my journal entries, where I don't bother to do anything more than a date stamp and a headline. But it's one long file, you get it? So I have to process this. There's a post-processing step. So to answer your question, while I don't go back and read my journals much, except for searching in this file for links and stuff, links, resources and stuff, I will make OpenAI API or something like it do the tagging, category choice, keywording, description writing, when it slices and dices this journal.md into lots of individual files in a underscore posts. Yeah, it gets that. Oh, do I escape this? This is a problem because, my journal, I don't really want to escape underscores in situations like that. But that gets the point across for the Jekyll static site generator built into GitHub, called GitHub Pages. Consequently, I'll now have, a topic, hub, category, and tag pages if I like. And that will let me, start to organize my content. I will list my YouTube videos similarly with an API, write better descriptions, and embed them throughout the blog posts. And as you can imagine, with that kind of project, like embedding my YouTube videos throughout my blog posts, that project is going to be devastatingly interesting to the public, right? I'm a wound catapult. The projects I work on are the kinds of projects people would love to follow along live and to see it done in an alternative way to the corporate sheep way of doing it, which is VS Code. I don't even know how you would go about a project like this, but I'm just using generic tech. I'm editing a text file in a text editor. It's just one long file. If you go to the top, you see a little bit of, what do they call it, front matter of the Jekyll system. You see some stuff that's going to be commented out that's only just for you. you see this highlighted in yellow, which means I had just run my macro, which involved a search on the term beginning of journal so that it can format and get things ready for a new blog post, right down to how I've sized it for the bunny at the correct size. When I do that macro, it just has the tip of the bunny's ear showing, right? This is all very deliberate. The tip of the bunny's ears at the right size where I can show my head when I am showing it. I'm not showing it right now. And I can show the chat running down the right-hand side. So this is all very carefully planned, but it's really nothing more than default tools just being used with a framework that I am imposing, and very little tech is actually imposing. However, the tech does have to step in and do certain things, like transform each of these, from slice token to slice token into separate pages. And that's actually occurring right now. The system's working great. It's just not flexible. And now that we have Bing and Bard and ChatGPT to talk to, I can create a much better, much more flexible implementation because I can get it to coach me along the way on how to do my transforms most smartly in the right granular chunks. There's a granularity question here. Because even once I transform they're like, do I do one transform or two? Do I do it in one sweep where I go from there to there and output it to a separate file? Do I do that outputting to the separate file in the same step where I change this upper stuff into Jekyll front matter, move the headline down, essentially push things down in the file the right amount and order them correctly, because when published, the headline goes above the date, not this other way around. And I layer in a byline because it's a blog post. So there's these transformation issues that I'm going to be rethinking through. It's going to be today's project. I may or I may not do that online in a live session with you. As I've talked about before, these live session things really do slow me down because, I think faster than I speak. But, people seem to love this. They ask for more of when I do this kind of journaling. Not that they're all tuning in. They're probably all with family and stuff. I just happen to have a fair amount of discretionary time right now. And not even that long, because later today I'm with my kid. And there's all kinds of activities for the weekend that I've been, planning. I did some generic stuff here, but really everything's in bloom. So it kind of means the New York Botanical Gardens. So, do I really want to dive into this blogging system? Whew. Wow. Let me just reorient myself with where I am on that, because it is a little bit of a challenge. It has challenge after challenge in it, in fact. And it's challenging to make it simple, right? To the point of having my pointer visible again. So I guess I have to go to streaming software, capture software. I might have to poke down here in the lower right to this thing to bring up the OBS interface. And now if I move my pointer around, I usually get it back because streaming, screen capture. This is what's controlling the screen capture. No pointer. Is this Providence? This is fate saying, no, Mike, you've streamed enough. Bank your success and think about the actual coding work separately, either on your own or in a different stream. If you want to see this project, put it in the comments or whatever, because I am not going to be coding all day, and you'll have a chance to reach me. All right? All right. So if you want to say something, say it now, and I'll do my best. But as you can see, that pointer disappeared. There it is, pointer back. And I was in the browser interface over this area and got my pointer back. I got to remember that. So maybe I'll stay live for just a little bit longer and stay adaptable, folks. Respond to changing conditions. So I guess I'll do, I guess it's Windows key R to bring up that running thing. Oh no, it's not Paint that I want. I want Explorer, so I'll cancel out of that. It's Windows key E for Explorer. Operating system dependent keyboard shortcuts are the worst. And the key for Windows on the keyboard is pretty bad too, but I guess all vendors followed suit and said that's the special manufacturer key or whatever. So Apple has their own invented key, and so it can be, software can adapt to it consistently. That's the trick. Unchanging APIs. Now the switching of the positions between the Option and the Alt key is one of the most evil things that Apple has ever done to the tech industry, but we won't talk about that right now. Repos. And in repos, I've got this thing called Skite. And Skite is where I develop this stuff. And there is a directory called Files here, which is clearly the output files from the last time I had done this project. I can click on any one of them, and you can see the sliced file. And it's merely sliced. All it did is separate these into separate text files based on those, long parser characters between them. And parsers being just a string of 80 minuses is my parser token. And so I didn't do any of the front matter transforms, or certainly none of the AI stuff. That's probably the most interesting part of this project. I should get to that with all due haste. But when we go up a directory, you can see these are the code files that are doing it. And now it's jogging my memory. I already had a slice and a Skite file. So slice and Skite handle the old blogging system when you see me do. In fact, I'll do it. So we can do it before and after. You go over to my site, look in the blogging section, and you might not see the entry for Better Living Through Text Editors, but I hit the @ key and the P key for publish. Then I hit enter. That's a new thing because I had to take the automatic hitting of enter out of my vimrc, now my init.vim macro, in order for it to be compatible between Neo Vim and Vim. So as I make changes now into the equivalent of my vimrc, I have to make sure I am not making it Neo Vim specific, because that would be terrible. I'm trying to keep myself as a generic VI person. So the sweet spot in the middle, or so remember, the sweet spot in the middle is Vim, right? So if we were to choose this, as far as VI text editors, this is Vim in here. Out here would be probably Neo Vim. That's terrible. And out here would be other things. I don't even know their names. I used to think that NVIM was one of them, but I realized that that's an abbreviation within NeoVim, so I don't know if it's two separate things or one. So I've gone over to, because I'm open-minded. If you want to play with AI in your Vim-like text editor, it's got to be NeoVim. So that's me adapting to it. And you can see when it finally gets done running the script, it looks exactly the way it looked under Vim. And I can hit enter and it just returns me to editing my document. And we can go over here to an empty screen. Oh, my pointer's gone again. I got my pointer back by going here and mousing right around here. No, it's not going to let me. Let me poke with my finger on the screen. Maybe doing that will get back the pointer. No. Oh, there's my pointer. Yay. So streaming is always a bit of a challenge. I'm still getting used to it. With screen capture, there's undos, but I don't edit. So since I don't edit, why not stream is my thinking. And what was I about to show you? Oh, I was going to go and show you the, oh, and my pointer's gone again. Is that too funny? I'll just use my finger to double click on Chrome. And then I can use my finger to go to this where the site is being rendered. And you can see the orange still being there. There's my pointer back. And the orange just tells me it's still in the process of rendering these changes out. So we can get a good before and after. I can actually pull this up, because if I surf into the blog now, you'll see that my last entry was planning the day and discussing the future with Bard. I was planning the day and discussing the future with Bard, which is what got me to live stream, by the way, right? So it helps you make decisions. I wouldn't be here live streaming to you if I wasn't thinking it through out loud in a journal, right? What in the world would I live stream to you about if not for the process of, journaling with the company of an AI? I mean, is that not so the times? Hair journaling? Literally, literally is just the most used word in the world, but, literally, I'll even emphasize it to see if I can capture some of the irony. Literally, I'm trying to live better through AI. It's fighting sour grapes. I'm a lifetime sci-fi reader, and to not be right there in my way, doing it my way. Listen to the intro to Laverne and Shirley TV series, the old TV series. It's one of the most inspirational and best intros to a show ever. So anyway, not be right in there doing it my way, right? Because again, there's so many other ways out there. There's so much scammer mentality, or making a quick buck. It's the same mentality that's in I don't even want to uppercase it, in crypto. It's the same mentality that's in the stock market. Oh, it gets it. Oh my God, the AI really gets it. I don't even know if it's in the art market. That's going a step. It gets repetitive and it starts to reach. But these things are very true. The financial incentive is an anxiety trigger for me. I do well for myself, but 100% because of investing internally and not financially. In a funny way, I find investing financially F-I-N-A-N, whoops, G semicolon brings you back to where you were. And if it doesn't get it right, you can always do Z equals. And yeah, it would have got it right if I did my macro. I find investing financially not to be a waste of time. What is it? To be less worthy of respect. I value internal skills Money is just money. It's worse even than matter because it's imaginary matter. The only matter that matters is what goes into you and, those you love. All else is interchangeable, atoms. Indistinguished, interchangeable. The race in life, the financial reward race in life, whatever they want to call that, has never done it for me. I look at people who've, taken that route, and after that first pang of jealousy, so maybe it's a psychological defense mechanism, called cognitive dissonance, sour grapes for those who want the more accessible language. After a moment of sour grapes, I think to myself, no, this is the old landlord versus the samurai, right? Warlords of ancient Japan, not even ancient Japan, warlords of pre-colonial Japan used samurai warriors who had the actual skills to keep giant battles and wars from having to be fought because there were some badass police. Would you rather be one of these warlords scheming and conniving all the time, or would you rather be one of these samurais with these hard skills that are broadly applicable, that you can take anywhere, and in a qualitative sense, there's something different about you and your body and your developing soul and being than someone who's doing that through a bank account or where they live, and projecting and compensating. Yeah, that's it. I guess that's it. I don't have to write all that down. That doesn't have to all get published out there in a blog post, but you see where I'm coming from. I process my thoughts this way. And that's where I was at thinking. So I brought this up to show those files, and now that I've shown those files, I guess I want to load a text editor. I lost my pointer, but who needs a pointer when you're in a text editor? Oh, pointer came back and would bring up the window. I'm going to learn the nuances of this right up to the point where I don't have to, from OBS or YouTube, or whoever has to fix this fixes it. So I can cd into Skype, and I can vim dice.py, and I can at least show you the code, the tiny little bit of code that slices my journal file into those separate files. This is all it is now. And I have Copilot here, by the way, too. So I can code in Vim just as well as I can journal in Vim. And this is an example of me having done so in order to create a file that will slice and dice another file into its separate components. I guess I can show you that. I can go over here. We don't really need this loaded anymore. I close that. I use this for a terminal. I go into that same location. I go into files, ILS to show you all of them, and then I remove everything, RM star. I do an LS again, and you can see it's empty. Empty directory, repo Skype files. And so what I'm going to do here, and this is the file, I look and remind myself what it's expecting, being sent in as arguments and parameters. It should no longer be hello world. That's kind of silly. You send in a folder, and it looks in that folder for a journal file, a markdown file. I don't see the MD. Oh, the MD, my location journal. And journal is journal.md. There it is right there. So yeah, it's expecting a file named journal.md. I need to make this more flexible, but you look at this to see what it needs to be sent. So -F, and then where the journal is located relative to this. And it's in a hidden location. So, oh, it already knows about the hide. So all I have to do is give it the name of the directory in the hide. So that's my website's repos folders name. And yeah, okay, I am equipped to do this. I can go cd ... And to run this, it would be Python. And I don't have to do that whole Python 3 space -m, because I'm contained within a virtual directory. I know what Python it's going to be using. I know what pip it would be using if I pip installed. There's no ambiguity when you lock yourself into a particular Python VENV or virtual environment. Anywho, Python -F for file, and then mikelev.in. And that should just, oh, the usage is, well, let's look at that code again. What is required? args -F required. Oh, it's dice. I have the wrong file. Python dice.py -F, Mike Levin. And it's giving a little bit of output. I'll have to clean that output up. But you remember, inside the files directory, it was empty. So I now cd back into files, and I do an ls. Oh, no, it didn't. Oh. Watch this. If I cd ... and I do an ls, no, it's not there either. Where would it have outputted? Let's take a look. Where I'm cd'd currently, the code will tell us. Oh, into a files location in that same location. That's why. So I'm in the wrong location for watching it. So when you need a new virtual thing, you just pop up a new one. I can put it here, and if I cd into hide / Mike Levin, there's going to be a files location there. It's going to be full of stuff, but now I can just rm Shift-8. Same demonstration, but now looking at the right place for before and afters. And while I'm at it, I'll drop this one over here and this one over here, so I don't have to scroll over the distraction of the streaming while I'm doing this. ls, clear ls. Oh, deja vu, right? So that's a before. And then we go over here and we just issue that command again. I guess that command's over here. There, it's done. We go over and now look in this location, the right location, then there's all the files back. And if I vimmed all of them, Vim Shift-8, Vim asterisk, you can actually just load them all into Vim, and I could like step through one after another and just look at them. There's a weird blank one, BN, and that'll just step me through from one to the next. The weird blank one was, of course, the top of the journal, because it just slices it. And, you know, just stop one and go one after another. I at one point had a macro for BN, so I could just do Control Spacebar and rapid fire step through these, and I'll probably bring that back into my life. Quit, ! In order to forcibly quit, just in case when you have multiple files loaded. It sometimes really wants you to say, yeah, I really intend to quit, because it doesn't want you losing. Well, you can't lose unsaved edits in Vim. That's another change between Vim and Neo Vim. I think Neo Vim lets you switch between buffers with unsaved edits. So these are little things I'm getting used to, but I would call them very little things. So that's pretty much it. I guess we stopped at that whole getting over the cognitive dissonance. You know, a lot of calibrating your day-to-day work to do the right things for the right reasons has to do with what was that? Oh yeah, it has to do with overcoming sour grapes or cognitive dissonance. Your current life is the way it is for a, preponderance of reasons. Oh, it wanted to say you can't change? What is the idea coming after that? I don't think, you can't change all of them, but you can change some of them, and you can start right now. Altering your course in life is one of the hardest things to do. Few changes as dramatic as getting a VI-based text editor into your life can compare to, few changes as dramatic as getting a VI-based text editor in your life can, compare to the, few changes in your life to add some way of being deliberate about your actions are as dramatic or effective as getting a VI-based text editor into your life. Is that it? It's a little redundant. Few changes in your life to add some way of being deliberate about your actions in your life are as dramatic or effective as getting a VI-based text editor into your life. I'll go with it. Concepts here are having a sounding wall, free association, and brainstorming. Vision and revision. Accumulating data for machine learning. Journaling and coding. Using language as a tool in creative new ways. So those are some of the concepts at play here. There are certainly others. What time is it? So it's like 12:10. Yeah. I give my brain a rest. Sometimes this kind of stuff gives me a headache. AI gives me a headache. Or maybe it's streaming. Journaling, not so much. Because I've been doing it all my life. and no. Something's different lately. So a long journaling session like this will give me a headache these days. It's a little bit strange, but it really wants me to use VS Code. Wow, will you look at that? Whew. That is a poignant way to wrap up this stream, because that is almost entirely the opposite. That is a Microsoft-itized, alteration of the actual concept going on here. That's classic Microsoft strategy, kind of like do exactly what you want to do, but do it this slightly different way so that we've butted ourselves into the process, are aware of you being out there and using this product, how you're using it, and then we'll look for ways to monetize it, right? Get a dependent following, get a dependent, this statement auto-suggested by Copilot really demonstrates Microsoft's, well, at least it's a negative thing, right? But it's not exactly the concept I wanted. Strategies of almost getting it right, but getting it wrong in a way that makes a lot of money for Microsoft. They almost get it right. You get it? It's so funny. This has been a wonderful session. This is as probably, a practical, insightful of AI as anything going on out there. There's these, pontificators on the YouTubes just trying to grab the views and stuff. I am certainly not someone grabbing views. I am not in this for the YouTube revenue, as you can see here. So that's a pretty good place to wrap up, because I did a good sounding wall. I used the journal how it was intended, and I made it just social enough that if there's any interesting things that can come of it, reach out, whatever. Later, Gators.